Welcome to She Rebel Radio, a community-driven podcast dedicated to supporting women to unlearn conventional rules and create businesses of significance. Each season, She Rebel Radio brings you insights and advice from noteworthy women entrepreneurs who strive to create more meaning, impact, and purpose. Now here is your host, Lulu Minns.
Welcome to episode 71 of She Rebel Radio, Girls and Women Love To, with Alice Clover. Alice is a children's writer and the author of Girls Love to Fart, a book which has sold over 10,000 copies in just under 2 years. Alice focuses her books on feminist and gender-related stories which are inclusive and diverse. Alice envisions an equal world for all genders, races, and abilities, and through her writing feels a privilege to empower and inspire children who love to read her books. My niece is certainly one of her fans. Alice, it's amazing to have you here. How are you doing?
Yeah, really good. And it's a real privilege to be here too.
Oh, it's an honour to have you. I know you have been a fan and supported She Rebel Radio since we started, so it's great to have you here today. Now, I wanted to start with, I know that you have 2 daughters who often inspire you with their words and phrases. I know I also influenced my dad's band name when I was just 5 years old by a question that I asked. So why do you think children are so inspiring to us when we are creating and being creative?
Well, I think that they are naturally creative and they haven't lost their inhibitions that we lose as we become adults. And I love to look at the world in the way that they look at them because they've got fresh eyes and they just see magic everywhere. And I find that that's really inspiring.
Yeah, as you say, haven't lost their inhibitions and that conditioning that we receive. And you also grew up as one of 4 sisters. Is it 4 of you?
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 4.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 3. So I remember we've connected on that as well.
Yeah.
So what did that teach you about the potential of us as women, but also the things in society that might hold us back growing up with all girls and being the mother of girls as well?
Well, I was very aware from early on that there's a lot of potential amongst women being in a group together. And like my mum, for example, she travelled around the world on her own in the 1960s. And
amazing.
She grew up in Canada and was determined to get back to Canada. So she just worked and wanted to be independent. And I always felt like that was a really inspiring way to be, especially then, because there wasn't as much opportunity for women to be independent like that.
And still now, lots of women don't travel on their own or are fearful about travelling on their own.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a lot of courage. I mean, I haven't wanted to do it myself.
And is that a story that your mum told you when you were growing up, that she went travelling and did things by herself?
Yeah, she was an au pair in America, and she's still in touch with the family that she worked with. So we always had that knowledge. And also, unfortunately, my granddad died when she was 12. So that's why they had to come back to the UK. And she always talked about him. So we were always very aware of why she left and why she wanted to go back. And I just felt that she faced a lot of challenges because she also didn't meet my dad until she was 31. She was told that she'd be on the shelf. She would never meet anybody. They've been married for 47 years this year.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and just at 31, she was told that, yeah, she might be left on the shelf. You have to meet someone. If you're a woman and you don't, then what?
Yeah, exactly. But she knew that she would. And so I felt like I knew that I could achieve what I wanted to achieve. But at the same time, I was aware that it's quite difficult when you're a woman because obviously the way you look plays a big part. And there was a picture of us, the four of us, and another man from my village that I grew up in underneath, and it said Beauties and the Beast.
Right.
And that always stuck with me, because I was thinking, it focuses so much on our appearance.
Yeah.
And it kind of still is massive. If you don't look a certain way, then it's harder to achieve what you want to achieve. And I've always felt that was a big thing in our family, not from my parents, but from other people.
Yeah, it sounds like from society in general, it's that conditioning of women. It's always, what is outside of ourselves in terms of how we look and are perceived by others, or who it is that we meet that can, up level our social status back in the day, or, just provide for us, etc. And yeah, I love how your mum was an example of you, for you in terms of going out and doing things herself before she met your dad and stuff. So that's really inspiring. Now, you went to Sussex University, as did I. You studied English literature and you focused on gender studies and feminist literature. Why was that of such interest to you? And what did you feel may be missing for women when it comes to literature?
Well, I wanted to do gender studies as my elective because I've always been very passionate. And before university, I'd been learning about the suffragettes and everything that they did for us to have what we have now. And I felt like I just really wanted to learn more about what they went through and what women and girls still have to go through. And one of the things that stuck with me was that at school, girls are put in dresses, but the ones that are more likely to be doing things like handstands and stuff. And then their dresses obviously rise up and they expose their underwear, and then
I remember my best friend doing that in school all the time.
They get in trouble for it though.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I just think we're disabling our children by what we dress them in from such a young age. And it's always stuck with me. So having two daughters, I've always encouraged them to wear clothes that they feel comfortable in if they're going to play, because wearing a dress when you're trying to climb is not helpful at all.
No, and it's, me coming from a legal background, and I studied sociology and criminology, and a lot of the gender aspects of that initially as my first degree. And I was unaware when I actually entered the legal profession that it was unlawful for women to wear trouser suits in the 1990s. They had to wear skirts and dresses until, I can't remember what year it was, but it was, only a few years after I actually entered into the profession. It's something I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it?
Yeah. And I find it, I don't know about you, but I've recently as well been reflecting on the kind of books that I've read over the years, and always really looking for this very female narrative that has been missing, from a lot of books or television programs. I think I really notice now if I watch things and that it's actually been produced by a woman. And I've noticed adverts, in terms of periods and things like that seem to resonate much more now, because actually women are part of the team producing it. Is that something you've kind of noticed a change in more recently?
Yeah, there's definitely more women being involved in things, and it's I was always drawn to female writers. Like I've always been drawn to Jane Austen, and also Virginia Woolf's book, The Room of One's Own. And I've always felt like that's such a big. It's still quite a big issue for women to have enough space to fulfill their potential.
Yes,
and even though that was written a long time ago, it's very relevant. And I remember going to the Jane Austen Museum in Bath and seeing what she used to write on. And if anyone entered the room, she had to hide it.
Right. Yeah, and didn't Virginia Woolf say something like a woman needs her own room to write in?
Yeah.
And that, how difficult that is, for women as mothers, etc., and having space in property, many houses being built by men with garages being put on the side so they've got somewhere to disappear off to, but women not the same.
Well, you hear phrases like the man cave, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Don't really hear that about women.
No. Where is the women's cave?
Yeah.
The women's cave, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, traditionally it would be doing the laundry or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Prior to washing machines and all of that, that would be something that would take all day. And I was recently reading about, Carl Jung and his thought leadership in terms of, shadow work and psychotherapy. And he had, servants, a wife. He had a retreat center where he would go and take himself off and take on less clients and, do all the work to create the thought leadership that he created, which, again, just hasn't been a reality for women when they haven't got the space, as you say.
Exactly.
That's why I'm so passionate about creating retreats for women. I'd love to know why did you write Girls Love to Fart?
I wrote it because I grew up in a house where it was perfectly normal and there was no shame around it. Mm-hmm. But I still also have anxiety about going to a yoga class, for example, in case I fart in front of lots of people. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that is something that is so common for so many women and girls. Mm-hmm. And also when I'd written it, and it wasn't illustrated or anything, it was on my iPad and I was just reading it out to my daughters. Florence wouldn't let me read it to her, and she was at nursery at the time, so she was only 3. Mm-hmm. And she'd been told that girls don't fart by somebody, I don't know who it was, and right. Just was adamant that I should not be reading this book to her. So I really wanted to get that message across, and I felt like it was vital. And also another thing that I have noticed after working with children I've worked with children for 22 years, mm-hmm. as most of the toilet humour books are aimed at boys and have male protagonists, and there's not many books in general that are aimed at girls, but out of all the children that I've worked with, they've all found it really funny.
Yeah.
I felt like it needs to be more of an equal genre for both boys and girls.
Yeah, so a total gap in the market, as you've said, toilet humour aimed at boys and men, for that matter, in terms of adult books. And I noticed a couple of years ago, I was reading to one of my friend's children, Barbara the Elephant. Do you remember those books?
Yeah.
And they were doing a cooking competition. And at the end, Barbara the Elephant received a chef's hat, and the girl elephants received little bows. And I'd been at an event in Brighton, actually, and I can't remember the name of the person who runs the cannabis kitchen, but she said, entering into the professional, kitchens, she noticed that men were chefs and women were cooks. And again, it was something that we're immersed in all the time that I'd never noticed. And then all of a sudden it was everywhere around me, including that book written in the 1970s, that he got the chef's hat, women got the bows.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you at home, it's majority the women who are doing the cooking, and they're not regarded as being professional or anything when it's part of a woman's job to look after the family.
Yeah, it's 75% of the world's work, unpaid work, is completed by women.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a shocking statistic in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, and when I read that in the book Invisible Women, which comes up on this podcast several times, me coming from the criminal defence profession, unpaid work is a sentence that's handed out in the criminal courts, usually to men, I might add, for committing criminal offences. Yet for women, it's just a given that they undertake unpaid work and don't get the accolades or the privilege to have the titles or things to boot for it. So you saw a real gap in the market with Girls Love to Fart. Now you've sold an incredible 10,000 copies of that book in just under 2 years. How did the creative process of Girls Love to Fart unfold? And what challenges, if any, did you need to overcome? Apart from your daughter, I think Florence, not wanting you to read it, what came next after those challenges?
The next thing was getting it completed, because my illustrator and I have split any profits we make 50-50. So that was really great, because it meant that I didn't have to pay any upfront costs. But it meant also that it just took a little bit longer to get the book completed. And fortunately, at Thrive, I met a lovely lawyer who she advised me to not advertise it too soon, because otherwise someone might steal the concept. So
yeah, I
messaged my illustrator, and that kind of helped get the ball rolling more. And then she, when it came out, I thanked this lady and just said, if it wasn't for her advice, it might not have been out yet. So that was really great. And I think both myself and my illustrator have learned a lot from the process, because I did start advertising it too soon, because I wanted it finished, or thought it would be finished before it was ready to. And we want every aspect of it to be brilliant. And so for the illustrations, it's really important, because the people associate the book as much with my writing as with the pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. My niece loves the picture of the girl's trousers blowing up. But when you say you felt that you advertised it too soon, what do you mean, before it was kind of ready to actually sell as a book?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Quite typical of a visionary, right? You can see it. You can see it out there, and it's being patient with the steps, isn't it? When you're really excited to get something out there.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I just wanted to get the message. I mean, obviously I want to sell the book, but I also really want to get the message out there and help improve women and girls' confidence about themselves and their bodies, and not feel so ashamed.
Absolutely. So important. Now, recently your book appeared next to Michelle Obama's book on an Amazon best-selling list. Did you know when you'd written Girls Love to Fart, and as we've heard, you were really keen to get that message out there, did you know that this was your best book yet? Or has that come as a surprise to you as things have unfolded?
It's kind of mixture. It's not really a surprise, because when I started asking people what they thought about the title before it was ready to launch, a lot of people wanted to change the title. They didn't like the fact that I put love to really cut, it's in your face. And a lot of people said, girls fart too, or girls fart, things like that. They didn't like the fact that I'd put the word love in it.
Why was that?
I guess it's still something that people don't necessarily, they don't think it's appropriate, because it's all about girls. Still in our society, girls are still supposed to be pink and glittery and fluffy, and all things nice like sugar and spice, and there's, especially with the gender reveal parties and things like that, we're gendering our children before they've even had a chance to express who they are. They're just put in these boxes, and obviously, as we know, that doesn't
always follow
with the majority of any of us.
No, yeah. So it sounds like when you were doing your kind of market research before being ready to launch, that people were trying to get you to kind of soften the concept. Okay, so girls fart because we're human, but we don't actually love to. So it was kind of being apologetic rather than unapologetic about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt like it needed to have that extra shock factor, I suppose, because then it gets the message across. And, we've had a few 1-star, 2-star reviews or ratings on Amazon. And I've had people, one person said that that the book was aimed at narcissistic snowflake children, and hoped a comet would hit the Earth.
Oh, it's a strange comment.
I know. So it kind of was causing a stir before it even came out.
Then you know you've got something, girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. So how did you stick to your guns really with this, of like, I know that this needs to be a bold concept, I know it needs to get out there, I'm going to deal with any haters that come up? How did you kind of stay grounded in your power with that?
I just really believed in the concept of it. I felt like it just needed to be out, and I was fully prepared for people not to like it, but also other people who are my target audience have all loved it.
Yeah, focus on the people that love it, for sure. And did you start with the name of the book? Were you clear about that before you even wrote it, or did that kind of come as you wrote the content for the book?
It was a bit different to begin with, and then I realised that it wasn't, the original title wasn't going to work, so I rewrote it as well, and then Girls Love to Fart just really fitted with the rewriting of it.
Powerful. So what else do girls and women love to do that's not talked about that we should be talking about?
I was thinking about masturbation.
Well, it's like you know what might be coming next on She Rebel Radio.
Yeah. Exactly. It's good to talk about it. I mean, I can't really foresee it being in this series of books because it's not something that I would put in children's books necessarily.
No, it's more of the teenage coming into that.
Yeah. But that's definitely something that needs to be talked about more. But you know, I've also been working on Girls Love to ABC, so I've been thinking about different things. Like one of the things that I learned in the gender studies was that we, as women, and obviously starting from girls, are encouraged not to take up very much space.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's really important to get the message across that we can take up just as much space as men, and we shouldn't be ashamed to take up the space that we deserve.
No, and we shouldn't apologise. I just love, everything you talk about, Alice, is very be unapologetic about these things. And I know, as someone in our She Rebel Radio members group called you a trailblazer, which you absolutely are, being bold in your concepts and what it is that women do love to do and need to take up, and space is a great one. But I won't ask you to reveal any more about the ABCs that are coming up. Now, Girls Love to Fart is self-published, and so is the promotion of it, both reliant on you and I believe your illustrator as well. Has that been an empowering process, or has it been a difficult one, or a mixed bag?
Yeah, mixed bag for sure, because it's taken a lot of effort and energy to get to where I am now. But it's also been incredibly empowering, and I've met some wonderful people, including yourself.
Yeah, thanks.
Who have really helped with so much behind the scenes that I just would not be where I am without it. And my illustrator is not confident with being the face of the book. She's much happier for me to do that, but she created my website. She does all the book formatting and layout. She's her granddaughter loved it so much she took it into school and has been asking her to do YouTube videos explaining how to be an illustrator.
Amazing.
And so that side of things, it's worked really well because she's kind of got, we've both got strong points. I love networking, and if I post the book anywhere, I always reply to every single comment.
Yeah. And there's photos of you in a giant whoopee cushion.
Yeah, exactly. So that, that's something that I love to do, whereas Cheryl has been amazing behind the scenes and got us to where we are. So it's worked.
Yeah, it sounds like you really complement each other with different skills and, kind of the ways that you are, which is amazing. So what is next for Girls Love to Fart, you at Alice Clover Stories and elsewhere?
Well, Girls Love to Burke is going to be completed soon.
Oh, so amazing.
The next one, which we are working on a marketing and promotional plan.
Mm-hmm.
And the Girls Love To series in general, I've got a lot of ideas that I want to create around that, because I feel like it's really empowering in itself.
Yeah.
And there's other books and other that I'm working on affirmation cards at the moment, so that when I can go in and do book readings at schools, I can help the children discuss gender and what they think gender is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it all revolves around what I do, is, challenging what society thinks gender is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's quite a lot that I'm working on at the moment, and it's all very exciting.
Yeah, very, very exciting. It's been amazing to have you on, Alice, and we will also post links where people can connect with you in the show notes, and also where they can purchase the book as well.
Yeah, that's great, because I know some people don't particularly like shopping on Amazon, but it is available at plenty of other places as well.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I'll find out from you. We'll make sure that information is there, as also, as I said, connecting with you and supporting you in, self-publishing and promoting this book, because I know many of the She Rebel Radio listeners will want to support you with that. So thank you so much. Have an amazing rest of the day.
And you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to She Rebel Radio, the podcast for women unlearning conventional rules and creating their businesses of significance. She Rebel Radio is executive produced by award-winning coach and advocate Lulu Mins. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit subscribe. And if you're feeling social, find Lulu Mins and the She Rebel Radio community using the links below.